Staying focused sounds simple, but the mind drifts fast. Richard Feynman explained this many times through his way of thinking. Most people try to focus by forcing themselves to try harder. Inside, the mind is full of half-finished thoughts, small worries, and unclear ideas. Cognitive load theory explains this. When too many unorganized thoughts are active at once, your attention becomes weak. The brain is not failing. It is simply overloaded. Feynman saw that when ideas are unclear, attention has nothing solid to hold. The mind slides from one unclear thought to another. Deep focus begins when you give your mind one clear idea and remove extra noise around it. When thoughts become simpler and more ordered, attention has a place to stay. Deep focus begins when your mind becomes clear and quiet. Deep focus starts with seeing how your attention moves. Feynman believed that clear thinking begins with watching your own mind. He did not treat thoughts as invisible. He treated them as real objects that could be noticed and studied. Metacognitive monitoring is the name for this skill. You observe when your mind changes direction or speed. As you work on something, you quietly notice when your mind leaves the task. You notice small pulls, like thinking about another task. You notice sudden jumps in thought when you go from the main idea to something unrelated. You notice emotional pulls, like boredom or impatience, that try to push you away. You do not fight these moments at first. You just see them. This simple awareness creates a small pause. In that pause, you can decide to return to the task. Over time, you begin to see patterns in what pulls you away. You gain control of focus when you can see what interrupts it. A clear, simple sentence can hold your attention in place. Feynman often used plain words to keep his mind centered on one idea. He knew that complex language can hide confusion and invite distraction. Research on processing fluency shows that the brain works better with simple, direct information. When the task is clear in language, it is easier to keep it clear in thought. You can use this by stating your current task in one short sentence using everyday words. For example, you might say, "Right now I am trying to understand this idea," or "Right now I am solving this one small part." You keep the sentence simple and concrete. You avoid vague phrases like "be productive" or "do work." Each time your attention drifts, you quietly repeat this simple sentence in your mind. This brings your attention back to the single idea. You are not forcing yourself with emotion. You are calmly pointing your mind toward one clear target. Feynman used simple wording to stay close to the real problem he was working on. You can use the same approach to keep your mind centered. Simple language helps the mind stay focused on one idea. Deep focus is easier on small tasks than on a huge, vague task. Feynman handled complex problems by cutting them into smaller pieces. He did not try to hold everything in his mind at once. Chunking explains why this works. The brain can manage small units more easily than one large block of unclear work. You can do this by taking your main task and listing a few small steps. Each step should be something you can focus on for a short time, like reading a section, writing one explanation, or checking one part. You then pick just one step and give it your full attention. You do not think about the later steps while you are on the current one. This lowers pressure. Instead of trying to stay focused for hours, you focus deeply for a short, clear block of work, then move to the next. Over time, these small blocks add up to long, deep focus. Small parts make deep focus easier to maintain. Your mind stays calmer when it works with facts, not guesses. Feynman often said that people fool themselves first. In thinking and focus, this happens when your mind holds many assumptions that you treat as truth. Research on knowledge representation shows that clear, accurate information supports stronger attention, while confused or mixed information weakens it. You can clean this up by separating facts from guesses. Take your current task and write to short lists. In the first list, write what you truly know about the task or idea. These are things you can explain simply and support with reasons. In the second list, write what you are only assuming, guessing, or hoping is true. You then focus your work on the first list. You give your attention to what is solid. For items in the second list, you either verify them or set them aside until you can. This reduces mental clutter. Your mind is no longer juggling uncertain pieces while trying to focus. Feynman built his thinking on what he could justify, not on vague belief. This gave his mind a strong base. Focus becomes stronger when you work from solid facts. Examples train your attention to move slowly and stay with the idea. Feynman used examples as a tool to keep his thinking precise. When you walk through an example step by step, your mind must stay with each part. Research on retrieval practice shows that using knowledge strengthens both memory and attention. You are not only holding the idea, you are actively using it. You choose a basic example that matches the idea or task you are working on, then move through it slowly. You describe what happens in each step using simple words. You keep your attention on the current step and do not jump ahead. If your mind drifts, you bring it back to the next step in the example. This gives your focus a clear path to follow. Over time, this trains your mind to stay with a line of thought without jumping away. Examples teach your mind to stay focused through each small step. Breaks in focus often point to breaks in clarity. Feynman treated confusion and mental friction as useful signals. When part of a task repeatedly made his mind drift or stall, he did not blame his focus alone. He checked the task itself. Error correction loops show that performance improves when you identify weak spots and rebuild them. You can apply this by watching where your focus fails most often. Maybe it always breaks when you reach a certain section to read, a certain type of calculation, or a specific decision. Instead of calling this a lack of discipline, you treat it as a place to simplify. You go back to that part and ask what makes it unclear. You break it into smaller steps. You restate it in simple language. You may add one small example to test it. Once this part of the task is cleaner, you return to working through it. Over time, fewer parts of the task break your focus. Your concentration becomes smoother because the work itself is clearer. Fixing weak steps strengthens your overall focus. Your mind focuses better when there is less to pull on it. Feynman avoided clutter in his thinking and in his work. He knew that extra information, even if interesting, can split attention. Cognitive load reduction explains this. Fewer inputs mean less strain on working memory and better focus on the main idea. You can support deep focus by removing what you do not need for the current task. This can be physical, like closing extra tabs or putting away unrelated notes. It can also be mental, like choosing not to think about other projects while you are on this one. You keep only what directly supports the current step. By limiting choices and inputs, you give your mind a simpler environment. With fewer signals to respond to, attention can settle more easily. This is not about perfection. It is about reducing obvious sources of noise. Removing noise helps your mind stay steady on one task. A clear structure gives your focus a path it can follow. Feynman used mental models to hold the shape of a problem or topic in his mind. Mental model theory suggests that when ideas are organized into a simple structure, attention can move through them in a stable way. The mind knows where it is and what comes next. You can build such a structure by outlining your task in a few short lines. For example, you might decide, first I read this, then I summarize it, then I check one example, then I write a short conclusion. You keep this structure small and clear. When you work, you let your focus follow this outline. If your mind drifts, you look at where you are in the structure and gently return to that step. The structure acts like a quiet guide, keeping your attention oriented. A clear structure supports long, deep focus. Deep focus becomes a real skill when you train it in ordinary tasks. Feynman did not wait for big work to think clearly. He used careful, simple thinking in many daily situations. Transfer of learning shows that skills practiced in one context can move into others. If you train focus in small areas, it will help you in larger ones. You can practice deep focus with short, everyday actions. When you read a page, decide to give it full attention for a few minutes. When someone speaks, decide to listen to every word without checking anything else. When you solve a small problem, go through it step by step without jumping ahead. These are short sessions, not long marathons. The goal is to train your brain to stay with one thing at a time. After each small session, you notice how it felt and where your mind tried to escape. Over time, these small practices shape how your attention behaves in bigger tasks too. Deep focus becomes natural when trained daily. Your brain learns focus the same way it learns any other skill. Neuroplasticity tells us that repeated patterns of activity strengthen the brain's pathways. If you often let your attention jump, those pathways become strong. If you often slow down, simplify your task, and return your mind to one idea, new pathways begin to form. You support this by repeating the same set of focus habits. Clear, simple task, small steps, examples, removal of noise, and repair of weak spots. You do not need to be perfect. You only need to be consistent. Each time you bring your attention back, you are training your brain. After some time, you notice that deep focus feels less forced. Your mind returns more easily. It drifts less often. The effort level drops because the brain is now shaped to support this way of working. Repetition trains your mind to stay in deep focus. Deep focus is not a mystery. It has clear causes and clear methods. Richard Feynman showed that strong attention does not come from willpower alone. It comes from working with clear ideas, simple language, small steps, and steady correction. When your tasks are vague and your mind is noisy, focus will always feel weak. When your tasks are clear and your mind is calm, focus becomes easy to keep. Research on meaning-based processing explains that when something has clear meaning and structure, the mind can stay with it more easily. Clarity holds attention. Simplicity removes drift. A clean structure gives focus a stable path. You do not need to fight your mind. You need to train it with simple, repeatable steps. Over time, these steps reshape how you think and how you work. Deep focus then feels less like a struggle and more like a natural state. Deep focus grows from clear thinking practiced with simple steps.